One. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ladies' Tale podcast because our guest, which I'm saying she, is a manager. So guess what? I think it's a female guest today. That's a bad joke. Oh,
Why?
That really fell. Jade, you can take over from here.
Because it felt like you making a cake.
Oh,
that's how bad it felt.
I actually cook well. She bakes better. So when I make a cake, it falls, but it's delicious because you crumble it up and then you put on a topping of a cake that she made with a little icing. Awesomeness.
No, we don't put it with icing. Make a coffee cake and then I use the falling cake as the crumbs on the top.
That's smart. That's so smart.
So in that way, you still get to have it. Yeah.
Making lemonade out of lemons. I love it.
And then you have a coffee cake with cake all the time. Like you can't, you can't go wrong unless you put the wrong rum in it, and then it's bad.
Oh yes,
it's horrible.
Cheap rum cake is a mistake.
No, it's across the board. I'm Jade though, and
I will remember to introduce ourselves.
High five, social distance style, y'all. Because COVID's out here. Don't touch people's hands.
All right. So now since we have a manager, and I love chatting with managers, I think we're gonna get a move on.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about our literary life guides with pop poetry. Some people would like to call them poetry anthologies, and I accepted on one book, and it's The Woman's Cave and Other Pop Poems, a Misfit Guide, because it went to #1 in new releases on poetry anthology. So that's the only book we vote that's a poetry anthology. Everything else is a literary life guide with pop poetry. And I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons. And I thought being grown up was easy. And if only I were me, a memoir and verse. Yeah, y'all, we changed the title a little bit. I have to remember every time. And I thought I did my journey alone.
That's for the 17 books we have out.
Or 20.
I can't 20 some altogether, yeah.
Y'all are busy.
So yeah. And one's getting written. So yeah. Yes, all of that. You can find out everything your ladies are doing, even the boring stuff about us writing poetry. Why? But okay, sure. It's all on www.andwethought.com. Y'all aren't here to hear about us though. You're here to hear from my wonderful guest.
Wonderful guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. My name is Erin Anderson, and I live in Nashville, Tennessee. And I run a company called Olivia Management, which at that company, I manage musicians and their careers and help them think about strategy and how to grow. And I'm also a consultant. So that means for artists that I don't manage, I will work with them on an hourly consulting basis to try to give them some tips to grow their business, to grow their, to their popularity. And then another thing I do also on the side is I'm an adjunct professor. So I teach at Belmont University here in Nashville, which is a big music business school. But I actually teach entrepreneurship, which is kind of ties in with management because you have to think about your career like a business when you're an artist or a writer or, whatever you do, think about it like a business. So that's kind of I'm all wrapped up in it. Teaching, advising, and consulting is kind of my wheelhouse.
Okay, first of all, I don't know how she finds the many hours in the day. Because I just want to say that once, no. There's not enough hours in the day for that. No. But she does it. So how do you do it?
Well, I have to, you have to work really hard on work-life balance when you run a company and do all these things. So I'm pretty good about scheduling. I'm big into calendar blocking and saying during this chunk of time, I'm only focused on this one thing. And during this chunk of time, I'm focused on this other thing. On the teaching side, I've been teaching the same class for 8 years. So at this point, I don't have to do that much prep. Basically what I do is I update my examples, every couple years to make sure that I'm talking about relevant companies and not talking about companies that are now irrelevant. But so there's not a ton of prep for the entrepreneurship course. It's mostly just grading. Mm-hmm. And really I enjoy grading. I just drink a glass of wine and mark up their papers and it's kind of fun. And then the rest of it, I just work on calendar blocking and trying to making sure that I'm efficient with my time. And then I try really hard, but I don't really check my email on the weekends. I really give myself Saturday and Sunday off to just, watch TV, binge Netflix.
If I Saturday and Sunday off for my emails and open them up on Monday, I feel so I drowned this week in emails. I'm giving up and I'm going home. Well, wait, I'm already home because
COVID. Right.
So right. I'm giving up and I'm going home to have more wine. The work home to the office to drink wine.
I've found that over time, because, most of my business is client-based. So if you don't reply to emails on the weekend, they start to learn you're not working on the weekend. And so they don't send them on the weekend. So yeah, my inbox is pretty full on a Monday morning, but it's mostly not my clients. It's mostly people, like new people looking for business, new artists looking for managers. And some of it I can just straight up delete and not reply. Some of it I can reply quickly and say, not taking on new clients right now. So I can get through my Monday morning inbox pretty quickly, because I think I've kind of trained my clients that I take weekends and it works.
That is so nice.
That is nice to know. That's interesting.
I feel like I'm a bad client, because I know that like some managers don't do weekends, and I still send emails on Saturday. I'm like, go get back to me.
Yeah.
Well, and that's okay. And I'm not upset. I'm not upset if they do. And I actually appreciate that, because then they didn't text me and actually interrupt my weekend. They put it in a place that like when I'm ready to read it and respond, I can. So, that doesn't bother me. I just think that over time, it's kind of nice. Like they know I don't expect they're working on the weekends. Obviously, when COVID is over and they're back to playing shows, they're working on the weekends. But for now, I think it's people, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but like if sometimes I get a wild hair and I want to work at midnight because I have energy out of nowhere and I just want to blow through some stuff, I'll always schedule those emails to actually send at 8 a.m. the next day. Because I don't want my clients to think I'm working after midnight and to see my email come in and then text me and say like, oh, I see you're working. Can you answer these 3 questions right now? So I'm like sneaky. I'm like a sneaky ninja about it,
I love that. I'm going to do that now.
Yeah. Hey,
it's like, because you get that energy and like, okay, but it's like as soon as it burns off, you're like, I'm going to get to sleep or I'm going to do something else. And then you're now stuck in a conversation. You're like, I didn't mean to. Right. But it's kind of fun anyway. So let's get back on track.
Yeah, you were talking about how you're a manager, but you help people to plan their career and like to treat it like a business. Let's talk about that. And is it hard to get creatives to be like, no, this is a business? No,
it's very hard.
I'm very happy that you can sing, but you want to get paid.
Right. It's very hard. At a high level, when you're an artist and you get to the point that you can afford to have a bunch of team members and a bunch of business people running your business, there is a point where you can kind of stop paying so much attention to it. But if most of the clients, I live in Nashville, there's musicians everywhere, every server at a restaurant, every barista, they all want to be songwriters or full-time artists. And so when you're at that level and you can't afford to pay a whole team to handle your business for you, you have to build it yourself. And so that's, I think, why I have that consulting business, is that none of that comes naturally to creatives in general. So I spend a lot of time talking about how to think about themselves like a business and how to analyze what are you spending time on and what brings money in, and what are you spending time on and what brings fans in the door, and what are you offering to fans and what would they actually pay for. I spend a lot of time talking to artists about, not having enough product for sale. So like, let's just say you do have a few super fans. If the most they can spend on you is $15 for a CD, but they would spend $500 if you gave them more options, then you need to think about more options. You need to have a bunch of t-shirts in your store, and you need to offer, private Zoom concerts for $300, and thinking about like expanding those offerings, because there are fans that would pay for it. So sometimes it's like, it's not quite how big your fan army is, but it's like, how deep are the pockets of your super fans? Because that can help you make a great living as you're trying to grow your career.
Wow. I love you so far.
Yes, this is amazing. Like, these are really great tips.
Yeah, these practical tips for us, actually.
Very practical. I think that could go over to writing. Like, I feel like this could be a thing.
Right.
We talk about it all the time, though, and we literally do. We sell like flask and t-shirts, and also because we are poets, but some of our sayings are very funny.
Right.
We're quirky, and that's what we are.
Sure.
So I think it's very interesting. First of all, I want to thank you so much for validating the business half of my brain, because you feel, as a writer or as a creative talking to other creatives, you feel very guilty when you start talking about the business side, especially writing. Actually, I'm thinking about acting is normally they think about their living, and music they think about it. But when you're writing, you talk to other writers, they're like, it's about the art. You find another job, and I'm like, it has always been, it's about the business first. Like, is it going not first? When I think of something, you think, is it going to make you money? Are your fans actually there to support it? And then you're like, all right, they've done this, and this. And then, okay, but my fans are here to support this idea. And let me introduce this idea in this book and see if they still like it.
Right.
And then you write the book. And they're
Right.
like, write the book first. I'm like, you do not.
I don't know. Maybe you do. Because sometimes it works for people, right? That's just
But
how it goes.
so let's go backwards and do a generalization because we've talked about your strategy. Let's talk about what a talent manager actually does compared to what
Day
an
in a life.
agent does. So what's a day
Sure.
in a life for you?
Yeah. So I think a lot of people are confused. I even think members of my family call me an agent sometimes. And people, you know, if you're not in the music industry, you don't know the distinction. So the best way I know how to describe it is an agent is specifically responsible for live performances. So in the music industry, your agent is the person booking you at all of the shows. So right now, agents are really hurting because they're not shows to be booked, and they take a percentage of the profit of those shows. I think some people get confused because when you're an actor, your agent is really important and is like the most important person in your life usually, because as an actor, all you do is live performance. I mean, all you do is live appearances. So your agent as an actor is the person negotiating your contract for your new movie, getting you your next role. So, but when you're a musician, your public performances are a third of your career usually. And there are the recorded music part is a part of your career. The publishing part and the royalties on the back end for streaming and sold music, that's a part of your career. And then like the merchandising, the licensing, the sponsorships, that's another part of your career. So the way I describe my job, this is the easiest way I found to describe it. So imagine the artist is like the nucleus of the cell. We're going like sixth grade science.
Love it.
I am the cell membrane. So no one can get to the art. They're supposed to go through me to get there. So the lawyer, like the artist has a lawyer, I coordinate with the lawyer. I set up the meetings. I make sure the lawyer's doing all the legal paperwork. The record label or you know, distribution company, I help an artist find a record deal. I coordinate. I actually just before this had a very frustrating call with a record label for one of my artists. And like my job is to manage, like wrangle the team members to do what the artist needs them to do. So you've got your agent, you've got your record label, you've got your lawyer, you've got your publisher, you've got your publicist, you've got all these team members. And my job is to manage all of those people and manage the career and the direction of the strategy of the artist and make sure all of those people buy into our strategy and get on board with us and help us move that thing forward. And then in the instance where I'm working with super small acts that don't have all those team members yet, I step in as their team member in that arena, or I teach them, you know, for instance, a publicist, their job is to publicize your music to the world. Well, publicists are expensive. So sometimes when an artist is smaller, I'll help them draft their own press release and help them kind of be their own publicist until you get to the point that you can afford one. So my job is very multifaceted. And when we talk about a day in the life, it is different every day. Some days we're filming music videos. Some, you know, I'm going to film shoots or I'm going to the studio. Some days I'm on the phone arguing with the record label. Like it's every day is different for sure.
Now I've heard filming music videos, which I was going to save my narcissism question for something else, but I'm going to use my narcissism question now. On the set of these music videos, do they have a table where there's food that people can eat from called craft services or
Yes.
craft?
Uh-huh.
My narcissism question is, do you ever think you'd like to invite two pop poets to, you know, decorate that table and eat something?
And
I
talk
love
to
it.
no one.
We'll talk to no one.
And bother no one. Just
Eat.
And
Well, yeah. I mean, right now, I haven't been on very many video shoots since March. But in general, yeah. Next time I got a big video shoot, y'all are invited.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So
You don't even know.
I know the people who listen to this all the time know.
They're here. They're here all the
Every
time.
time. But we're going to say it again because it's going to get us there. On my bucket list since I was 12 years old has been number one, go
And
to
then
the
she shared
Mediterranean.
it with me.
And
so.
then number two, I would like to eat at a craft services table. So we do a lot of interviews and then we go, can we come to craft services?
Because
To be honest, I think you should qualify that dream with craft services for a large scale production. Because craft services for some of my artist videos is like a couple Twinkies and a little veggie tray. But craft services at a large television production or a huge artist music video production will be much better.
Well, yeah, I know, but then you
But right now, we're
feel
just gonna
like
take what we can get.
you feel like
Let's just get it
you're
marked
asking-
off, and then
yes.
we'll be like 2A.
2A,
Right.
lower the scale, because we've had it once and it was fabulous, but we want to have the extra fabulous stuff.
I love that.
Okay,
First,
so
we gotta get the one done.
I have another question. So, with the advent of social media and everyone learning that branding is important, has this made your job easier or harder?
That's a great question.
I know, right? It came to me and I was so excited.
Don't be excited if you never asked the question.
I think in general, my answer would be it's made my job easier because now there's more tools. So, like Canva, I don't know if y'all are familiar, but like, it's
I
like,
love Canva.
right? Like you can look like you're actually a great designer in Photoshop, but on Canva and you drag and drop stuff and it looks professional. Or all the apps for your phone where you can make moving images for Instagram or edit video for TikTok. I think it's easier because the importance has led to more technology being developed to make it easier to do. So while I think the competition is probably more fierce and the competition for attention is more fierce, the tools out there to do my job well have expanded. So I think it makes it easier.
So it makes for well-educated clients then.
And that's
Right.
I'm asking that because if you really think about it, like a lot of fans, you get fans on consistency in your brand. But if no one understood what your brand was, you had to spend all that time explaining, you are your brand and this is what's happening. I think a lot of people now know that, so that when they go and they make more informed decisions, like I'm going to get this manager and I'm going to bring to my manager, here's my brand.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's so true. I remember back in the day, we had a friend who's a musician, and they were explaining this to us, and we went, "I don't get it." And now everything like clicks like a couple years later.
Right.
But that's not important. We're back to you. We do get lost in our own little stories sometimes.
I love it.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
What 3 pieces of advice would you give to an artist, either looking at their brand and their music and thinking, I need a strategy, or to an artist who's thinking about getting a manager for the first time?
Sure. Well, let me start with your second question, thinking about getting a manager for the first time. I get so many emails from artists that are asking me to manage them. And I don't say this back, but this is the first thing I think. What the heck is there to manage? Like, there's nothing going on yet. So to someone who's sitting there thinking, I need a manager to hit the next level, my advice to you would be, all that time you would put into searching for a manager and sending cold emails and trying to network and find that person, take that effort instead and put it into finding fans, put it into engaging with people online and doing live streams and putting out new music, and like put that energy into the art and engaging with fans. Because what happens is when there are so many fans engaged and there's money coming in and your art is starting to be buzzy and people are talking about it, the managers are going to come to you and they're going to offer to take it on. And I always tell artists, like, the threshold for when you need a manager is when you've grown your career to the point that so many requests are coming in for your time, for your music, for interviews with you, that you're missing them because you're too busy. That's when you need a manager. Not when you have nothing going on and you think a manager is going to drum up business for you. They can't if you don't have anything going on. But if you have worked really hard to grow a business and to be buzzy and to have fans engaged and excited, and there's so many emails coming in with requests for interviews and appearances and performances that you're missing them, and that's when you need a manager. And the manager can come in and immediately get all of that under control and make sure you're not missing opportunities, and then build on what you've built. So that's the first part of that. And then to artists thinking about their brand and wanting to grow and thinking about how do I focus on this, I think what's really important, specifically for music, I mean, that's the world I can really speak to, is not asking, like, sometimes artists come to me and say, what's trendy right now? Like, should my song be 2.5 minutes long or 3.5 minutes long? Or do I need to use slide guitar or not? Like, what's hip on the radio? I think if you're asking that question, you might not be like a true artist. I think what you need to say is, like, what is the art that I feel compelled to make? And what is the statement that I want to make? And who am I? And then figure out how, with your brand and your image and your social media and the art, the music you're making, figure out how to express that through that. And so what I talk to my clients about is not which of these fonts is better, or which of these photos is better. I talk to them about which of these better represents the art you're making, which of these better represents the message you're trying to get across, which of these better represents you. That really helps artists frame things up. And if you think about any of the artists that have longevity in their career and have put out 20 albums and have been here, there's always some point in their story they looked at a label head or a manager or someone who was trying to force them into a cubbyhole, and they said, screw this, I'm doing my own thing. And those are the artists that make it long term, you know, that really, like, they don't worry about what's trendy and what's hip. They worry about who they are. And I think if you watched like the Queen the Queen movie that came out a couple years ago, like, he wanted to put out like a 9-minute single, and the label was like, absolutely not. And he threatened to walk with his band if they didn't put out the 9-minute single. And that's one of the most popular songs in the history of the world at this point, you know, the Bohemian Rhapsody. So I just think I encourage artists to be themselves and figure out how to communicate that. And that's where the questions of branding come in. It's not, is this branding cool? It's, is this branding representative of who I am and what I want to portray to the world and my message?
Fabulous. Also, where can people find out more about you and your client?
And to remember that you're not taking clients right now.
Well, I am taking consulting clients. So if anyone's watching this and they want to talk about music branding, growth, entrepreneurship, how to think about your music as a career, I am taking consulting clients, just not full-time management clients, because it's like having adult children, and I have 6 adult children, and that's enough for me right now. My website is just oliviamanagement.com, OLIVIA management, all spelled out.com. And again, my name's Erin. And if you go on there, there's like a page with services, and you can fill out a form if you're interested in consulting, and we'll get back to you. Except I'm taking the next 2 weeks off for Christmas. So I don't know when this is going to go up somewhere, but I'm taking a vacation, but I will get back to you after January 4th.
That is fabulous. I mean, taking a vacation in 2020. Yes, I'm absolutely with it.
I think, like, I honestly, all the managers that we talk to, I'm like, they deserve a vacation.
Such a vacation. So I'm glad you're taking a vacation. So thank you so much for coming on today. We really appreciate it. And I guess I'll go ahead and wrap this up. You can find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andwethought.com. Well, no.
And while you're there, you can take a moment and see the beautiful little blue box that says the Ladies Tale Podcast,
which is on,
which this episode is on. And you can hear professional actors read my TV script, which, by the way, is called
The Manager.
The Managers. It's about managers. Okay, and then we have other interviews on there as well, because Jade says I have to share the spotlight, so that's me sharing it.
But more importantly than all of that, y'all, take a moment, go over to the Ladies tab, go to the middle, and see the charities that we probably support. Maybe you can support them also, even if it's just like adding them on social media and saying thank you for doing this wonderful work in the world. We would appreciate it. I'm sure they would appreciate it.
Oh yeah,
yeah, absolutely. So just remember, y'all, wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Will Nona
and Jade. Bye. Oh yeah, thanks for listening.